Hello everybody, welcome back to another weekly market review for F45 trading. We are looking at the week of Monday, May 13th, closing out Friday, May 17th. So just looking at the markets here briefly, this is a shot of the US dollar to start off with, as we always do. We can see it finally started to break out of this consolidation that it's been in for the past couple of weeks here. We ran these old highs here and price came straight back down. And so far, we had a bit of a reaction off of this high here when price came back down and retouched this previous support level down in here, or this other consolidation level. And I got the data dividers on, so let me just take that off. And you can see this one wick right in here came down, swept underneath those lows and rejected quite strongly. I was sort of hoping that was going to be a push to the upside, and as you can see, price just ran all the stops above the market and then fell off, went into consolidation, and then it looks like it's starting to fall off. This low here from last Friday failed to get underneath this old low here, and this was FOMC, middle of the week. And then this, of course, was NFP Friday. We can see those two big wicks on the chart there. We just came down under this low rate here on Friday that you can see here. And I was actually looking for them to come back down and rebalance price about the 96.80 level. We'll see if that happens. I'd like to see it happen earlier on rather than later. And we do have a little bit of a gap up here from Thursday as well. So, from Thursday's trading to Wednesday's trading. Thursday's trading to Friday's trading. We have a bit of a gap, and that's just on this chart, of course. Just check your own charts to see. Again, I run two demo accounts just to verify the feeds that I'm getting on mine, so highly recommended on yours as well. Make sure you do have this gap here. If not, obviously, it may not be as important. I'll leave that on your own. Leave that up to you to check that on your own. But again, looking for price to come down here and sweep underneath this low here to the 96.80 level if we can. If we see price run higher up into here and start to reject at this area in here, then I'm kind of under the opinion here that we'll come down, we'll sweep the 96.80 and potentially even go lower. If this level doesn't offer any support at all on the downside, then we'll see price probably want to run through and potentially run under these lows here. Now, if we don't see price go any lower than 96.80, and I'd give it a little bit, to be honest with you, I think I'd have sort of a line in the sand. I know it's a bit of an area here, but I'd say about 96.60 on the downside. If we see price starting to slam into 96.60 on the downside on the U.S. dollar, good chance we could see price start to roll over even further. So we'll just have to sort of wait and see how that plays out. Looking at the weekly calendar, not a ton coming up on the week. Sorry, guys, I got bells and whistles going off everywhere here. Let me just turn everything off. Very unprofessional. So we've got Monday coming out, pretty light day in terms of news. We've got an FOMC member speaking, and for the most part, mostly medium impact news events. Going into Tuesday, we have pretty much one high news impact for the pound sterling going in at 4:30 a.m. New York time, average earnings, and then an unemployment rate, of course. So we could see the markets move a little bit on the pound. And then finishing off the day, we have Australian dollar wage price index. So we could see a little bit of movement in Aussie if you guys are an Aussie trader. Going into Wednesday, lots of Canadian dollar news in here, so just be careful of that. CPI news, meeting minutes coming out, obviously. And then U.S. dollar core retail sales and retail sales meeting minutes at 8:30 a.m. New York time. So watch out for that. That will definitely put a little volatility spike in the market. And we could see a couple of good setups off of that Wednesday. Going into Wednesday evening, again, more Aussie news. We could see Aussie moving pretty well here. And actually, I'm going to bring up an Aussie chart here in a few minutes just to kind of talk about that, because it is actually on the move as well today. And this, at the time of this recording, it's still Sunday. And the market's just opened up for Sunday trading. Going into Thursday, we've got pretty much, again, very similar to Tuesday, a little bit lighter impact. A lot of news for the Canadian dollar and U.S. dollar on at 8:30 a.m. New York time on Thursday, and then we have a high-impact Bank of Canada Governor Polls speaking. So I don't necessarily know that that's going to do a whole lot to the Canadian dollar. That will be be seen. But economic news data coming out on the Canadian dollar is fairly weak. So I wouldn't expect anything out of the norm. I don't think we're going to see a big spike down on the U.S. CAD. If anything, I think price has still got a little bit more to run on the upside. So if anything, this will probably just add fuel to that fire. Another FOMC member speaking on Thursday, and then Friday wrapping up the day. We've got parliamentary elections going into the Australian dollar on Friday, which is sort of what I wanted to talk about. Friday, you definitely don't want to be trading the Australian dollar if you are trading it. And really this week, it's going to be probably a little bit bouncy, a little bit jumpy. It's going to make some movements. So just keep that in mind if you are an Aussie trader. That's going on Friday, all day Friday. So just watch out for that. But that's it for news. Nothing too serious. Not a lot of landmines. A couple small ones you got to maneuver around. But for the most part, pretty tame news events for the week. So going into the charts again, I want to see this area up in here filled. Ultimately, I want to see if they can make that extra push higher. We had the FOMC run down here, which cleared a lot of areas, and one more time it came down and failed in here. So if we don't see price starting to make a run for this low here, then I'm kind of thinking that there's a lot of levels up here, i.e. this gap here, these highs here, that could be potential targets on the week. I'm hoping they're going to break out of this as well. Whether it's the downside or the upside, it doesn't matter to me, but I'm hoping we do see some definitive direction on the U.S. dollar going into this week, because last week was a bit of a painful week to watch price go straight sideways. Going into the Euro USD, let me zoom in a little bit here. You can see here, price, again, same sort of story as the U.S. dollar. This has been mimicking the U.S. dollar quite closely, with the exception, it did have a consolidation, I should say, and we did come in and make a new low in here from a couple of weeks ago, and FOMC ran a very significant level last week. I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago, and then obviously NFP on the Friday came down, and so pretty much mirror opposite of what the U.S. dollar is doing, and then consolidation going into all last week. Friday came in, just squeaked above the high from Thursday, but we don't see that gap. So you saw that gap on the U.S. dollar from Thursday to Friday there. That's what we don't see on the euro. Maybe just slightly in here. But they just ran the Thursday's high there, wicked back down, and then obviously this is Sunday candle opening. So this one here, again, my line in the sand on this guy is actually going to be, let me adjust this a little bit here, about 120, I'm sorry, 112.90. Like if they hit 113, they'll probably want to run it and run above these equal highs in here. Going into the week. So if we're going to see higher price on the US dollar, we want to see lower price on the Euro USD, which means this 1165 target on the downside could easily get run out if they decide to start running in that direction. Obviously, we'd have to see the US dollar start to climb higher from here for that to happen. But so far, this looks pretty bullish. Like, this looks more bullish than what the the US dollar looks bearish, to be quite honest. So it's just going to sort of remain to be seen. If we start running these highs out here, then they're going to come up and probably take out these highs here, and so on and so forth, all the way up the ladder. So this high here comes in right about 12, call it about 1265 on the upside. Where if we see price going above here, that could be what they're going to stretch for. That's pretty much this old high here, and then expect them to come back up and jam right into the bottom of this consolidation level in here. At the very minimum. So that's why, like I say, I'd permit price to go up to there, but 112.90 is my line in the sand. If the 112.90 gets broken and they start climbing, they're going to go run up into here, and this week will finish off as a bullish week. So I'm pretty much hoping that they're going to leave this as the high on the week, maybe try to make a run out to run Friday's high, but I'd hope to see a quick rejection from there. And then again, targeting the downside 1165. So it's sort of right in the middle of that range. And again, if you look on this, and I'll just borrow this guy right here, we're right back in here. Price has spent a lot of time right at this level right in here, so I'm not surprised at all that we're right back into that level again, and testing old highs again in here. So we're just gonna have to wait and see how this one pans out. And again, also, if you're not following economic news out there, keep in mind there are U.S. Chinese trade negotiations going on right now and through the weekend. I don't believe at the time of this recording they have finalized those. So we're talking all those tariffs and everything like that. Could definitely weight heavily on the U.S. dollar. So we got to take that into account until that's all done and off the table. I wouldn't get too committed into putting a lot of money behind a lot of your trades. And again, this is not trade advice. Everything I'm assuming is all on demo. Everything shown here is on a demo. But just, so you know, that is going on. And it could do a little bit of movement in the markets here. Cable is another story. So we had a nice big pop up into here, ran a bunch of highs over in here previously, and we've right back down into the lows that it's been putting in here. So price has been spending a lot of time wicking in here. What I'm honestly looking for cable, if we can get it, is if price would come down and rebalance at the, well, you know what, I'll just use this line right here since we're already on the chart. I'd like to see if price can come back down and rebalance just under this low right here at 129.40, we'll call it about 45. Just to make a nice easy number. I'd like to see if we can get price to stab down into there, and I'd like this area to offer some sort of support on the downside. I like how we saw a good bounce off of here. And as I was talking, looking for price to sweep under these lows here and come in, create a low, and then a bounce is exactly what we got. I'm looking for higher prices. I want to see them try to run this high and ultimately these highs here at 131.95 to obviously 132 on the high side for this week. I'm really hoping we can get that, and you can see it wouldn't take them very long. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4 days on this week here. It took to get up there, so very, very quick movement. That's what I'm hoping here, just a real quick move down, touch off of this level, and then a push higher. So we'll wait and see if that happens. If this area here, and I'll just borrow this shaded area, if we start trading back down into this shaded area in here, and I'll bring the price tag up here. If we start trading below 28.90, I'd honestly say about 29 even. If we start getting back down to that number, I'm going to be pretty hesitant about looking for any longs on cable. If that number gets broken through, real good chance that it's not just going to be a stop run or anything under this low here. They're probably going to take it and sink it even further to the downside. So we will have to wait and see, but it sort of brings me to Euro GBP. You can see this guy here. We've had significant movement higher off of these lows from here and a real long extended consolidation range. 2 double tops in here and price jammed south. And price hasn't really made any interest going higher yet. I've got one level that I'm looking at on the charts here at 87.35. On the upside, where I think they could come up and just clear these old highs in here, but I'd be looking for further decline on Euro GBP. If that happens, we're going to see a little bit of momentum higher on the pound dollar. So just keep an eye on that one, but that's what I'm looking for long term, and eventually, again, these highs getting run eventually that high, hopefully. But for this week here, if we can get some bullish action, I'd be looking at about 132 as a target for what I'm looking at. And again, if this low gets run out, then we can pick targets to the downside, this low here for a potential target for the end of the week. So we'll just have to wait and see, unfortunately. And price could, of course, we do have some high-impact news events for the cable. We could even see price go sideways for a little bit longer as well, too. That's always certainly an option. Okay, moving forward here, US CAD, we're still sort of stuck in a bit of a range on US CAD. We had last Thursday of last week really pop up here and take out all these highs, and I was hoping good. We're finally going to see this cascade higher to 135.65, which I've had sitting on the charts forever. And then we just put in a big down day on Friday. There was some pretty serious movement in the markets on Friday. And but I don't see this as a shift in trend. I believe it was just coming back down to gain additional longs to push this thing, propel it higher. I really think price is going to start running higher, and if we start getting above, when we start getting above 134.70, 134.60, somewhere in that neighborhood, I believe that's when we're really going to start to see them put the gas on this thing and see this trade higher. That's what I'm hoping. Again, don't want to see them go any lower than last Friday's low. The other alternative, again, because the U.S. dollar is still in those trade wars with China, we could still see this move sideways for an indefinite period of time. And you look how long it's been sitting. It's going sideways for a couple of months here, and we had a weak little pop out. More sideways action. That's certainly not out of the realm of possibilities. But I am looking for higher prices. Ultimately, I don't think we're going to go too much lower. My line in the sand again on US CAD is pretty much about 133.65 on the downside. If we see price going into there and closing underneath that line, then we're going to make a run underneath these lows here. And then we'll have to switch our stance on US CAD. Not going to talk anything about UJ quite yet, just US yen. I do think they're going to rebalance at the 109.10 level. We'll be watching for that, but we did sweep down lower into the end of last week under here. So we'll see. Price rebalanced quite nicely here. We could have one more stab lower. We'll have to see, but lots of areas above price here where they could want to run. Again, if we see higher prices on the US dollar, it will drag this pair up, but that's all going to remain to be seen on what's going to happen with the US dollar going forward. So they could be building in price on UJ in anticipation of some of that, and this will get directly affected by the trade outcomes of that as well too. Just so keep that in mind. We could see lower prices, or they're just coming down, pricing it low, taking advantage of all those trade wars in anticipation that they know it's going to start driving the US dollar up, and then they're buying it all down in here, and then you're going to see price eventually make a run for these highs here. Possible scenario, I'm going to wait and see again what's happening there, but lots of areas on the upside to look on this one here. And alternatively, same thing goes for the downside. There's lots of areas under price here where price could want to reach to. So I'm going to hold off on UJ for now. Australian dollar, again, they had those, we've got those parliamentary elections happening this week, so I would probably stay away from Australian dollar, but you can see it'd be nice if Australian dollar started to break out of this range. It has been doing just a real weak sort of sell-off, real choppy. Let me get rid of some of the paraphernalia on this chart here for you guys, clean this up a bit. So we can see here that, again, price is going straight sideways, and then finally we had a bit of a run down and just a real weak sell-off. It stabbed under these lows quick one day and then rejected very, very quickly. And I was hoping that we would have saw further sell-off, and all it did was just run right back into this old consolidation area lows in here. Retested that, sort of a breakout retest sort of strategy, and we could see price continue to move to the downside. If we do see strength on the US dollar, again, that would lend very well into price moving in this direction. So there's a couple of things that aren't exactly correlated. Usually when you have the US dollar going up, you'll see euro, cable, Australian dollar all doing the exact opposite, going down. You see euro, and again, you see euro pretty much doing exactly opposite of what the US dollar is doing. Cable's doing whatever it wants to do. US CAD is stuck in consolidation. UJ is going down when it should be going up. Well, actually, technically, US dollar is seeing a bit of a decline, but UJ is seeing a huge decline. That is definitely not correlated to what the US dollar is doing. And then Australian dollar, again, US dollar is down, Australian dollar is heading down. So just a couple of pairs in here that really aren't seeing a lot of market symmetry, and you got to be a little bit careful with that when you see that. Not very high probability, so just keep that in mind. Keep your trade short. I've been actually finding a lot of success just doing small 20, 30 pip runs. I'm in, I'm out, and that's what I've been doing. Haven't had a lot of success lately doing big 100 pip movements on one pair, only because of exactly why I just explained and what we've been seeing with the markets. Okay. So crude oil, just to sort of finish everything up here, and again, not much going on here. There's a lot of activity happening with crude. Everyone's coming in saying, well, there's oversupply, and yet you've got Venezuela coming offline. You've got Iran has sanctions on it, thinking about leaving OPEC. You've got Donald Trump coming in from the U.S. and saying, well, no, we need oil prices lower because it puts a strain on our economy. I mean, it's just, who knows what's going to happen here with oil long term. I personally believe it's going to run higher up into these levels here. That remains to be seen. I think we could see price balance again at 57.80 and lower. They're really spending a lot of time in here, and we had a pretty steep decline. This is the steepest decline that we've seen on US dollar, and we're talking a $6.50 slide. Again, the biggest slide that we've seen is $4.50. So this is the biggest correction in this entire move higher since the end of last year. I think we could see further downside. And they're really, if they wanted to rip this thing up, I could be wrong certainly, but if they wanted to rip this up, this doesn't look very bullish to me. They're spending a lot of time in this area. There's equal lows and a ton of liquidity sitting under here. I think there's a real good chance that they could dive down into this area. So again, it remains to be seen. I'm holding off on my bullish stance. Ultimately, like I said, doing this again, I think we're going to see it run higher. But just bear in mind that we're starting to get we're starting to see these corrections come in here, and it could be pretty deep. And again, I would very highly expect them to come right back down. Look at the monthly. Monthly comes right back down to that 57.80 level, tagging off of these old two tweezer top highs right in there, very beautifully. So I think long term that could be a where we're heading. And then crude oil, obviously, seasonally speaking, starts to get bullish going into the second half of the year, into the third quarter type of thing through summer. So we could see that. We could see them drop this down into May, June, and then see that reversal once it rams back into this old consolidation highs in here, and then see a push for the third quarter. Now, going into the fourth quarter of the year, that's a different story. You see prices starting to come off. So we'll just sort of have to wait and see when that comes in. But for now, I'm holding off my bullish standpoint. I'm going neutral to bearish, and we'll just have to wait and see. But I don't think this is the low. I think they're going to come and stab down on that. And I think this week is going to finally break out of this consolidation level. So anyway, folks, that's all I've got. The rest will obviously be saved for the members of F45trading.com. We've got several live sessions coming up this week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and lots of activity happening in the market. So if you guys want to get some more detailed information, go ahead and jump on to F45trading.com. Check out our options, and I think you're going to be very happy with what you see there. Really assist your trading. So again, check us out, F45trading.com. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, just click down in here on the icon in the bottom right-hand corner, and you can get instant updates as to when we go live and when we do our recorded sessions and post all of that. So thanks very much for watching, and we will catch up to you in the charts if you remember. If not, we'll talk to you again via recording next Sunday. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great week.